Hello and welcome back to another episode of Out of Frame Behind the Scenes podcast. I'm Paul Nelson, still filling in for Sean Malone. We still cannot figure out our schedules and get in the studio at the same time.
Slacker.
But I am thankfully joined by the great Jen Mafasanti, the communications director for the Libertas Institute. How are you doing, Jen?
I am doing well. It's snowing today.
Snow.
Snow. Okay.
Mid-October.
So y'all know that we record ahead a bit. So this is the day that you hear this is not the day that we record it. So today is the 14th of October, and it was coming down when I left the house this morning. It was genuinely snowing. So big difference from Georgia, where
75 degrees right now.
I would still be considering shorts on the weekend. So
yeah, I'm getting soft when it comes to the weather. I'm wearing a sweater because it was a little chilly this morning. It was a balmy 65, and it was just too cold for me.
65.
Yeah.
It was 30 degrees when I woke up, Paul.
Yeah, I thought it was sweater weather, and it was 65 degrees. But I'm not mad. I love the warmth. I love the happiness that it brings. And speaking of happiness, we're talking about Ted Lasso Season 2 for this episode. It's a whole season. They had 12 episodes this year.
Yeah.
Apple asked them to do more than they did last year, which is fine. We love Ted. We love the whole crew. So more is better? ? Maybe. We'll talk about that. But first, I'm going to give a quick little synopsis of what I can with season 2. I mean, there's a lot of plot stories. But the main gist of it is at the end of season 1. If you haven't watched it, I mean, it's been out for a while. This is going to be some spoilers for season 1 for sure, and I guess maybe season 2. We might get into it. I don't know.
I don't know.
But at the end of season 1, they are relegated from the Premier League to the Championship, which sounds weird, but that's how they call it in England, on the last day of the season. And so this year, they are playing in the second division of English football, soccer, and are working on going back to the Premier League. And that is what I thought would bring the drama this year in this season. But it's just kind of it's a story in the background, really, which is what I found interesting. But Jen, can you just quick thoughts of the season? What did you think of it?
This was not as good as season 1, which is not to say it was bad television. It was like, if I were grading all of this, season 1 would have been A+, like really, really exceptional. I mean, season 2 is a B, solid B, still above average, still, pretty good, but it was not quite the magic of season 1. Still enjoyable, still a lot of fun, but I'm hoping that they can kind of bring it back to how season 1 was, with the thrill, the drama. Even though this is a sports show that never did show a lot of the actual sport, there was enough of it in season 1 that it felt like it was really driving the narrative. Mm-hmm. And we did not get that in season 2.
Right.
At all.
I totally agree with you. I would agree with your grading. No controversy there. And I watched this with my wife, and we're both just having the same kind of first reaction of, this is funny, this is good, but it's not as good as season 1. And for me, Jen, you already kind of touched on this, but the main driver of the plot and drama isn't the on-the-field action. It's pretty much all off-the-field action, which is fine. But I think that's what the beauty of season 1 was, is that it used the drama of a sports season to set off interactions between these characters that we grew to love and know. And as a former athlete myself, I just hate talking like this, but like That's real, and that's how much I
Back
connected.
in my day.
Yeah, back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's real, and that is
Hmm.
personally why I connected so quickly to that show. Is that it showed. I mean, obviously a lot of exaggerations and stuff like that, but it showed how people are affected by the sport that they play, and I thought it was wonderful. Even the guys at the pub were affected by the results on the field, and pretty much every interaction in season one was at some point based off of what happened on the pitch, I should say. This is soccer. It's not the field. It's a pitch. Excuse me, football purists. But in season two, they kind of go away with it, go away from that, and really focus on the characters that we have grown to know and love, which is fine. I understand that decision, but it just needed that constant reminder of they actually have a job, and it's to win soccer games.
Yep.
But so this is a long season. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. There's some interesting stuff to talk about. And while season one was kind of devoid of woke stuff, season two did not escape. There is quite a bit. I don't want to say quite a bit. There's some. There's more than there was in season one, and it honestly feels a little just pushed in there because
Contrived.
yeah, it doesn't really fit. So in what was this, the second episode or the third episode? Sam,
Some
at
like
the beginning,
early on in the
Right.
first half.
in the first half of the season, Sam Obasanya, who one of my favorite characters,
Oh, he's so great.
and I mean, I could say this about all of the characters in the
All
show.
of them.
There's something endearing about each one. But Sam, who is from Nigeria, the Richmond FC is sponsored by Dubai Air, and apparently they have been doing some nefarious stuff within Nigeria. And he got the opportunity
It's
to.
not even Dubai Air. Like Dubai Air owns a company,
Oh, that's right.
a different
Yes.
company
One of the
that is doing shady
conglomerates.
things.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but he got approached by Dubai Air to become a spokesperson, be in ads, get paid a lot of money to have his face on posters throughout the world, which would have been good for him, Richmond, his family. But he got a text message, a text message from his dad, who we have built season one, season two to be very important and involved in his life, and somebody who he respects and admires. And he gets a text, and it's his dad going on a rant that doesn't seem like it would be typed by a father from Nigeria about this evil corporation. And that to me, I mean, it's little. It was a little thing. It to me would be, with the relationship how they build it, that would be a phone call. I don't think you would ever text your son those things that he texted. They were rude. And
If you're going to give the I am both angry and disappointed talk to your child, even if they're a grown adult, you're going to, like, as a parent, I would do that face to face if I could. Obviously, Sam lives in England. His dad still lives in Nigeria. That's not super possible, but like set up a video call or an actual phone call, anything. Get the actual voice in there.
Which they had later on in the season.
They have an actor who does that.
They did it later in the season.
They show phone calls between Sam and his dad. And so that's the thing that they do. Yeah. But like, no, it gets a text like angry emoji. I'm so disappointed.
Yes. And so Sam obviously values his father's opinion very highly. This is all within the character. He's talked about it before. It's nothing surprising. So he decides to put black athletic tape over the sponsor for a game. His teammates join him in the silent protest, and obviously things happen, and there's another subplot about a dating service that Keely's been working with that comes in and takes up the mantle. But it's this huge protest, this huge thing that's never really talked about after that episode or two. It's something that would have had huge consequences for the team, and it wouldn't have just been as easy as, oh, we're done. We're not going to put your name on our jerseys anymore. And it's not as simple as just going back to the shirt shop and running off some more jerseys. So that part it felt contrived. It felt like they wanted to put a message in there, and that really annoyed me. Not enough to stop me from watching, because it's still funny. There were still some touching moments in that moment of the team deciding to join Sam in that protest. And what I like about the show
it's a
is
good
that
character moment for Jamie too.
Yeah.
In that episode, I mean, but the real life consequences of that, like Sam single-handedly has endangered the livelihoods of his entire team.
And his
Didn't
owner,
talk to them about it first.
the pub owners,
Just
the grounds crew, it's a lot. It's a lot. And
it's a lot.
It's just played as it's just his stand. And it's big in sports right now for various topics it seems like a different topic every day, but it's something that it's really not thought through, and especially in the show. But something that we both loved, that I thought they developed well as the season went on, is Roy and Keely's relationship. And
yeah,
I actually, this is one of my favorite parts of the show. And obviously both these characters are not on the team, so the season doesn't really matter as much to them. So this works when I had the critique earlier. But so why I really enjoy this is that the characters are both very strong individuals by themselves, but they're both going through massive changes at their lives while trying to work on a relationship together. Roy's obviously retired. In his mind, he is on the decline. He had reached the pinnacle of his chosen profession, and now he's trying to figure out his way through life without it. Keely, on the other hand, when we met her in season 1, was lost. She didn't know what she was supposed to do. She was dating Jamie Tart. She was doing panda and lion shoots. She didn't know what to do with her life, and over the course of that season and this season, she has been finding her legs, her voice, and her career is taking off and is in the ascendancy, and her pinnacle is yet to come. And that is a difficult dynamic to reconcile in a lot of relationships. And it's a big point in this season, and I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's I love that relationship because, especially in season 2, it's very, very clear that Roy and Keely do not need each other. They would be just fine on their own. But they want to be with each other. They choose to be with each other, and they continue choosing to be with each other. And that is a fantastic example to set for how a healthy relationship should be. You shouldn't be with your partner because you need them. You should be with your partner because you want to be with them.
Yeah, I think
that's just a beautiful dynamic to me.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
And they do actually. They are both, like I said, strong individuals. But I do think they find that they need each other because they find that each other makes them a better person. Keely is very self-conscious. She has a lot of self-image issues, and Roy helps her work through that. While on the other hand, Roy, like I said, is lost. He doesn't know what to do, and Keely it gives him purpose. She gives him something to work for, which is their relationship, and also opportunities that she is working on for him. And they both realize that they are better together than apart, even though that they could be apart and would be fine. And that's pretty cool to see because there's a lot of times in the season the
Yeah.
relationship. I'm like, are they going to end this? This is they could end it. They could break up, and
Yeah.
they don't. They work through, and it shows that good relationships are work. It's hard work, but as the old saying goes, hard work works.
Yeah. I mean, I recently celebrated my 10th wedding anniversary with my
Congratulations.
husband, and thank you. It was a nice milestone for us. But like, it's not always been, you know, wine and roses. Like it's tough to make a true partnership like that work, and it takes a profound understanding of the person that you are with. And it also takes a better understanding of yourself
Mm-hmm.
in order to help your partner like genuinely fulfill their potential. And it's work. It's hard work, but it's absolutely worth it if you're with the right person. So, yeah, it's just really encouraging to see that on TV. Usually relationships on television or in movies, it's all about the fire, it's all about the passion. You
Mm-hmm.
fight, you make up. And so long as you think the other one's pretty, it's going to work out. But that is not how it works in the real world. And it's just really nice to see something a little bit more realistic on TV.
Mm-hmm. And this, I think, that transitions to a question you wanted to talk about, and that is this show shows a good the difference between what you think you want and what you actually need. So, can you expand on that? What you liked about that in the show?
Yeah, there were a lot of character arcs this season talking about that dealt with them pursuing what they thought that they wanted and not really getting the fulfillment that they expected, either in the process of going after it or even in actually attaining it. It just feels hollow if you're not uh, chasing the correct thing. And then kind of along the way discovering that there are flaws within yourself that are holding you back from actually really achieving your potential. And it may feel like a diversion, like a side quest, but fixing yourself is always the first step to fixing everything else. You cannot change the world if you're a hot mess,
Mm-hmm.
right? This kind of goes back to like Jordan Peterson and his advice is like, fix yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
Like clean your room, sort your own stuff out, and then maybe once you get that in order, you can presume to change the world. But it's really interesting how these diversions happen. I mean, Rebecca is trying to get back in the dating game, and she realizes that she is not ready. Like she's got her own like trust issues, and she's terrified of commitment and of like big feelings that can happen in a relationship. And she she figures out that she needs to figure that out before she gets herself into a serious relationship. And she does kind of start ish dating Sam, and
A lot
she
of
sees that that
HR
has
problems.
which that like HR issues aside, dating your employee basically. Let's leave that aside for right now. She realizes that she's not in a correct headspace to be what Sam would want and Sam needs.
Mm-hmm.
She cannot be the best partner to him that she can be so long as she's dealing with all of these feelings of fear inside of herself. And so she has to let go of what she thinks she wants, which is a new romantic relationship, to pursue what she actually needs, which is working on herself.
Mm-hmm.
And we see this bringing in the sports psychologist for the team, Ted dealing with his panic attacks. Even the relationship between Beard and Jane is very weird. And like, you can see that Beard is approaching that tipping point where he knows that he needs to actually figure out what it is he needs, and why he can't seem to ever like quit Jane, which is a very tumultuous relationship. Like, they break up and get back together like every day. So, it's interesting to watch these things play out. And like, with the new captain, what is his name? Captain of the team, big guy.
Yeah.
But he's having some trouble. Like, he's not really establishing himself as a leader with the team. He's missing some basic plays, all that good stuff. So, you know what? Roy takes him to go play a pickup game in like the tennis courts nearby where Roy grew up, so that he can remember that it is a game and it's supposed to be fun. And isn't that why we started doing this in the first place? Just really digging into what it is that you actually need to be the best person that you can be.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a big point of Ted's character arc this season, working through his panic attacks, working through his separation issues with his son, but also with Jamie Tart. And one of the biggest laughs I had from a TV show in a long time was episode 1 when Jamie was on basically Love Island. And they nailed
I thought of you when I watched that episode.
Oh my gosh, I lost it. They nailed it. They nailed the set. They nailed the whole theming of it. It's just perfect. And the fact that Roy,
you would watch that show.
I would. And the fact that Roy is having a glass of wine with his yoga gals watching Love Island, it's like that's hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. And Jamie's relationship with his father is explored throughout the season, and he is able to get from out under his thumb and grow and become. He's still Jamie Tart. He still walks around with a hat that says Icon. He's still that guy, but he's starting to actually build relationships and trust with his teammates and with the people that he cares about.
He realized that he couldn't do any of that at Man City. Like, he had to get out and go back to Richmond.
Yeah, he knew what he needed.
Where he felt safe.
Needed Ted
to explore those things. Yeah.
And I really like that storyline with Jamie, because he's such a likable character. He's so funny. He's just
hilarious.
Nails it. And
I don't think I would like to be friends with Jamie Tart, but I would.
No.
I would like to at least live in the same neighborhood.
So Coach, the actor that plays Coach Beard, he posted a video of the actor that plays Jamie Tart. So the long free kick from midfield where he makes it somehow.
It's like 40 yards.
It's ridiculous. But they filmed this.
Zip code.
And the actor who plays Jamie Tart actually kicked the ball and made it from. So it's not just a lot of times you think, oh, they can't do that. This guy actually got out on the field and did it, and just making that kick in the goal. It was great. So if you go look it up on the Twitters, it's worth the watch. So there's a lot of little things that Ted says that kind of annoyed me this season. One that kind of annoyed me the most, and I know you have a lot of feelings about this, but in one of the later episodes, he has this quote, and I got the quote right here. "Trickle-down economics may stink, but trickle-down support smells like pizza, roses, and I assume Viola Davis." The last part's hilarious, but trickle-down economics has never been a thing. And
it's not a thing. Sorry, go on.
No, you go on. You got it.
Okay. All right. So the term trickle down economics was not, it was developed by people who don't understand how taxes work. All right. So, all right. It came about during the sort of the Reagan era, and there were corporate tax cuts and lowering the tax rate on like some of the top income levels here in the United States. And opponents of that called it trickle down economics. They're like, oh yeah, uh, the idea that these people who want to cut taxes are pitching is that if the richest of the rich people make more money, then eventually it'll trickle down to us proletariat masses, you know? And it was meant to be a dismissive term. And somehow it was just really, really sticky. And that is the term that has stuck around. But the thing of it is, that kind of stuff does actually work. If you lower the corporate tax rate, what you're ultimately doing is lowering prices and raising wages. Because because corporations, as people like to say, don't pay taxes. What they do is they collect taxes by raising prices of their products and services so that they can cover what they owe to the government. They lower wages so that payroll taxes aren't as high, because payroll taxes are a percentage of what people make, and it's just automatically taken out of people's paychecks. Anybody who's ever worked a job and a, a W-2 job and gotten a paycheck can see this when they see all of the deductions that come out of their paycheck before it actually gets to them. Like, that is how lowering the tax rate on corporations actually affects the not super rich. It lowers the prices for goods and services. It allows wages to rise naturally because they're paying less in taxes to the government. And it just improves people's quality of life. Corporations are better able to invest in their own businesses and in other businesses to foster innovation and new and better goods and services to solve the problems of real life people. That's how business and entrepreneurship works in a free market. And somehow people think that making life difficult for the businesses that are solving our problems will make them solve our problems better. And that's not how anything works.
Right. That line. There's a few others, but that one stuck out to me the most. It's just dumb. There's really no other way to
Yeah.
say it. It just feels like the writers have they are what they are. They've heard what they've heard, and
Yeah.
it's just very surface level understanding of how anything works. But with having said all that, I'll leave that aside because we get hit with, oh, you guys just think trickle down economics is just that's never worked, and we see that all the time in our responses
Mm-hmm.
to a lot of our stuff. And I mean, I believe President Reagan never even said the term. It was something that
No.
was only, like you said, only used by opponents of the stuff, but of those policies. But yeah, it's frustrating, and it's annoying. It's a slight annoyance. But I'm not going to ask them. I'm not going to call to cancel Ted Lasso.
No. Why? Like, pitching out a brilliant show. Let's be honest, this is good TV. All
Yep.
right. Just asking to get rid of it because of a couple of dumb lines that clearly weren't designed to be like, oh, yeah, maybe we should actually be taxing corporations a whole lot more than we are. Like, it's played for a laugh. Why would I
Right.
want to get rid of something good because of one tiny throwaway line? Like, just get out of here.
Yeah. No, I think that's the difference right now is can you take a joke or not? And we see a lot of
Yeah.
situations with that recently. And
It's a joke.
right, lay off. But yeah, so I it's when we talk about TV series on the show, it's kind of difficult because honestly, we could do an episode about each episode,
Every episode. Yeah.
and maybe we should like on Instagram or something, IG Live.
Hey, TikTok ideas.
Yeah, there we go. Write it down. I was talking to nobody. I'm just yelling to myself. But this is so. I what do you have a favorite episode from season 2?
My favorite episode from season 2 is probably the Christmas episode. It
Yeah.
was such a kind of out of the main storyline, delightful romp with like Ted and Rebecca going to deliver gifts and just it was very loving. It was very much in the Christmas spirit, but it was also such a great reminder that even when we ourselves are feeling worthless and feeling down and like nothing that we do matters, it does. It does. Some one tiny interaction, one small kindness that doesn't mean anything to us can mean the world to somebody else.
Mhm.
And so it's so important to keep that in mind that you are valuable and what you do matters to other people. It was just a lovely, lovely episode. Such a delight.
I agree. I think the Christmas episode was one of those episodes where we'll remember it for a long time, and that's the thing about this show is that especially season 2 is that it hits highs and great highs like that episode and a few other episodes. But what really struck me about the Christmas episode was the dinner at Higgins' house.
Oh, that was so great.
And again, this is
Sorry.
this is why I feel like I connect so much with the show is that this is a lot of my lived experience. Yeah, I couldn't say it with a straight face, but this is a lot of my experience being an athlete in college of bringing people that would never have interacted before, but put them together towards one goal, but then opening those people up to new experiences and new traditions and friendships that you never would have had before, and putting that all together in a long, multiple tables with all kinds of crazy foods, all kinds of crazy traditions, and it's just absolutely beautiful.
So wonderful.
And I love it. And I thought
love it.
they did a great job of showing that kind of camaraderie between teammates, and it's just really struck me as being a real moment, and I loved it. The other moment that I loved, and we could probably talk about more of this, but at the end of the season, Sam, there was a plot line where a billionaire from Africa came in and wanted to buy Sam Obasanya from Richmond, and basically his pitch was
buy out his contract. Let's be very clear here. Buy out his contract and then hire him as a footballer for another team.
That's not how it works. It's so you pay. So in soccer, you pay the club for this player. It's not the contract doesn't necessarily come with it. It can, but it doesn't necessarily.
Oh, no.
You can. It's buy and sell. It's not.
That feels very.
It's different. It's different.
Icky.
It's different. And there is some interesting situations. But this billionaire wants to buy Sam for him to play at his team in Casablanca, and he wants this team in Casablanca to be one of the biggest in the world. And he puts the pitch on. He's like, come home to Africa, make an African soccer team one of the world powers, which is very romantic, it's hard to turn down. Excuse me. And Sam listens to him, listens to his father on a phone call, not a text, and
Yeah.
ultimately makes the decision, which I think is the right decision especially after he decides to stay with Richmond. But he took a lesson. He noticed something in his meetings with the African billionaire that the billionaire opened up a restaurant for one day to feed Sam Nigerian food to try to convince him to come to Africa where he could have Nigerian food. Well, Sam took that and said, you know what? I'm going to stay here in Richmond because I still need to grow here, but I can bring my traditions, my food, and introduce people to it by opening my own restaurant. And at the end of the season, he bought a storefront and is going to open up his own Nigerian restaurant. And I absolutely love it. We talked about last week about markets breaking down barriers. That is it.
Absolutely.
That is opening up people to new experiences that they never would have had before. And you're getting it because somebody cares about what they want to share what they love. And that's fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah. It was a wonderful moment at the end of the season. I really, really enjoyed that one. Sam realizing that he is having an impact where he is, and he is making his little corner of the world a better place. And he has influence. He has a platform and he can do things here that no one else can. And just topping it off with opening that Nigerian restaurant was just beautiful.
Mm-hmm. So, do you have anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
I mean, we could talk about Ted Lasso all day, but
Yeah.
I think we've hit the important parts.
Yeah. Would you recommend season 2?
I would. You know, it's still good TV. Just
Yep.
because it's not as good as season 1 doesn't mean it's bad. I enjoyed it a lot, but yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes in season 3. I'm really looking forward to it.
Right. So I find that either people, when you talk to people about Ted Lasso, they've either seen it, love it, or they never even heard of it because it's on Apple TV Plus, whatever they're calling it. And I would recommend this this is high. I know we talked about season 2 is not as great, but it is highly recommended. Watch season 1. You'll fall in love with it. And season 2, while it's not as good because of the stuff we've outlined, it's still really good. And it's still hilarious. And you still build this relationship with characters that you genuinely care about and you wouldn't have thought you would have cared about at the beginning of the season or the season 1. And so I would, like I said, recommend this one. I think if you're in the market for a new iPhone, you get like a month or something of Apple TV Plus for free, so you can binge it. You could find out ways. It's $5 a month, if not, or something along those lines. So you would get done with Ted Lasso pretty quickly. So yeah, I would recommend it. And like you said, I'm excited for season 3. And I don't know if season 3 will be their last. I think it might. I don't know. We'll see. I hope it doesn't just keep going.
They're winning all the awards.
They are, but maybe a Jamie Tart Love Island spinoff is what the world needs. Maybe just me.
We'll see.
Maybe just me. So with that,
maybe just you.
Yeah. With that, thank you guys so much for listening and watching. If you go to your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review and share us with your friends. That's the only way we can grow this podcast even bigger. But if you are a supporter of the show, stick around. We're going to be answering some more questions from our Discord. And it's going to be interesting. We have very strong thoughts about this topic. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.